The True Story of Benjamin Franklin by Elbridge S. Brooks. One day, when Benjamin Franklin was about 7 years old, there was a holiday in Boston. As a holiday present, Benjamin was given a handful of pennies and started out for a good time, feeling as rich as a lord. He made a straight line for the toy shop, but on his way he met a boy blowing a whistle. It was shrill and clear, and at once Ben decided that he wished for a whistle more than anything else. So he asked the boy to sell it, and offered his handful of pennies in exchange. The other boy took all he could get, of course, and Ben walked away, feeling very proud of his purchase. Soon he was in the house, whistling with all his might, but the Franklin family laughed when they found what Ben had paid for the whistle. "A fine tradesman you are," they said. "Why, you might have bought 4 whistles at that toy shop for what you have paid for one. Think what you might have bought with your money, and a whistle beside." Ben always remembered the lesson he had learned that day. More than 60 years afterwards, when he wrote the story of his life, he said, "I cried with vexation, and my reflections gave me more chagrin than the whistle gave me pleasure. When I was tempted to buy some unnecessary thing, I said to myself, 'Don't pay too much for the whistle,' and so saved my money." But he was a wise little fellow, even if he did sometimes get sold, and his playmates knew it. They found him to be a good comrade, jolly, venturesome, full of plans, just the boy to be a leader in sports and sometimes in pranks. One of these pranks got him into trouble. Down near what is now Boston's crowded waterfront, there used to be a marsh. It was a fine place to catch minnows at high tide, and Ben and the other boys did a great deal of fishing there. They went there so much that they often trampled the low bank into a mud hole. "That ought to be fixed," said Ben. "Let's build a wharf." The boys found a pile of stones near by and lugged them to the minnow marsh. Working like beavers, they soon had a fishing wharf. But the stones had been intended for the cellar of a new house, and when the workmen who were building it discovered what had happened, there was a great fuss. Ben was found to have been at the bottom of the scheme and was quickly taken to task. He took his punishment like a man, but he argued with his father that he ought not to be punished. Friends were there. The boys just had to have a wharf. They had built a good one, but his father did not agree. "The stones were not yours to take, Ben," he said. "What is not honest cannot be truly useful." So Ben Franklin learned another lesson, which stayed by him all through his eventful life, that honesty is the best policy. This marsh was one of Ben's favorite playgrounds. During his boyhood, Boston was half water, and Ben always loved the water. He was a good hand in a boat. He was strong and fearless swimmer. One of his earliest inventions was connected with swimming. He wished to fix up something so that he could swim long and far, and he tried 2 experiments. Once he got up a sort of push-board and pallet for his hands, and also a broad kind of sandal or swimming shoe for his feet. These worked fairly well, but the best help he found was to fly a kite. Fastening the string to his wrist, he let the kite pull him through the water, while he lay quietly on his back, lowering or raising the kite as he wished to go faster or slower. Ben was a bright boy, and he once said he did not remember when he could not read. He started to school early, and at 8 years of age was in the grammar school. He stood at the head of his class and was promoted to higher classes twice within a year. Then he was sent to a writing school to learn writing and arithmetic. But life was a hard struggle in the big Franklin family. When Ben was 10, his father, a candle maker, took him out of school and put him to work in his own shop. His son, however, did not want to be a candle maker. He hated to cut wicks and make molds and run grease. He hated the touch and the smell. "I don't like it," he said. "I'd rather go to sea." Now, One of the Franklin boys had run away to sea, and the father did not wish to lose another in that way. When he saw that Ben really did dislike the trade of a candle maker, he decided to make him a printer. So Ben became an apprentice in the printing shop of his elder brother James. At the same time, he set out to educate himself. He soon struck up acquaintances with a number of boys who worked for the Boston booksellers. They would loan him books from their shelves, and he would sit up late at night, sometimes almost all night, to read the book through and have it back at the bookstore next morning. What little money he had to spend, and it was very little, he put into books. He read everything he could get hold of. By early in the morning, up late at night, he put every spare moment to use. When Ben's brother called his newspaper the New England Courant. There were very few newspapers in the world then, only 4 in all America, and 3 of these in Boston. Ben was a very busy boy, setting type for the Courant, printing it, folding it, and delivering it to the subscribers. Office boy, compositor, printer, and newsboy all in one. But James Franklin was a hard man to get along with, and Ben's lot was not a happy one. He was an independent youth and used to speaking his mind. He fretted under his brother's tyranny and often talked back. Sometimes there were blows from the elder brother, until at last Ben felt he could not stand it any longer. Finally he told James that he would not work for him any more, but James said he would have to. "I will not," said Ben. "There are other printers in Boston." "I'll fix them," said James. And he did. He went to every printer in town and told them that his brother Ben was bound to him until he was 21, and that they would get into trouble if they employed him. So, when the boy went about town looking for a new job, he could not get one. Ben did a good deal of thinking. His old desire to be a sailor was gone. Study and success had shown that he was cut out for a printer, and a printer he would be. There were but 3 towns in all America large enough to support printers: Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. In Boston he could not and would not remain, so he decided to run away and go to New York. He sold some of his precious books to pay his passage, and a friend smuggled him on board a sailing vessel. Thus it happened that on a certain October morning in the year 1723, Benjamin Franklin, aged 17, a runaway apprentice, bade a silent goodbye to his boyhood home and was soon on blue water, bound for new adventures. Unable to find a job in New York, Ben went on to Philadelphia. When he arrived, he had left only $1 silver and about 20 cents in coppers. He stepped out on the wharf, dirty, bedraggled, hungry, sleepy, and seedy. A tramp printer looking for a job. But Ben was not a boy who was easily discouraged. He soon found a job as a printer, and later became Philadelphia's most honored citizen. During the next 60 years, he gave most of his time to winning freedom and glory for his native land, and no man ever did so many things for the comfort and benefit of mankind. He improved the printing press, he invented stoves, he made double spectacles for near and far-sighted people, he taught men that lightning was electricity and invented lightning rods. He founded the first public library, the first fire company, and the first police service, the first magazine.